Hey guys, in this video we're going to be looking at the state pattern, which is another behavioral type pattern, and I think it's awesome, and it sort of reminds me of how state managers like Redux work. We have a state that we can change it throughout our script, so if we want to do certain things on certain states or display certain content, we can do that. So we're actually going to build a little project here, which will be a Bootstrap template or a Bootstrap website with a couple links here, home, about, and contact, and we're going to make each one of these a state, and we'll display different content depending on the state we're in. Now, I'm not going to waste time going through and typing out all the markup here. It's just a standard Bootstrap template with a nav bar. You can see this is the nav bar. Then we have a container with an H1 with the ID of heading and an ID of content. And then we just have our JavaScript down here, including the dependencies, the Bootstrap.js, and our app.js. Now you can just take this from the project files if you want, or you can type it out if you want. So let's go to our app.js, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. So we're going to have what we're going to call a page state. So let's create a variable called page state, and we're going to set that to a function. And in here, let's create a variable called current state. Actually, this should be a let. So let current state, and I'm going to set it equal to new. So we're going to set a constructor and then home state. And then we will just want to pass in this. Oh, we don't want to do that now. We want to pass in this, which pertains to this function, this page state. Now we're going to have two functions or two methods within the page state. So one is going to be called start. So we're going to say this dot start, or you could call it a init. Let's actually call it a init. So initialize, and we'll set that to function. And inside here, we're going to say this dot change, and then set new home state. Okay, so this dot change is another function we're going to create, and that's going to be used to just change the current state. Now when we call initialize, it's just going to load the home state. That's the point of it. So let's create the change, and all we're going to do is set current state equal to state. Okay, and the state is going to be passed in like that. So now all we have to do is create the different states and what we want to happen inside of them. So let's go ahead and go down here. Actually, we'll put a semicolon here. And then let's create the home state. So we'll say const home state equals function. And it's going to take in a page. Okay, and then this page, let's say document.query selector, and I want to select the ID of heading, because what we're doing is modifying the output. We're modifying the UI depending on the state we're in. So let's say the heading, we want the text content to equal, and I'm going to put null here because I actually don't want a heading. All I want is a Jumbotron displayed on the home page. So what we'll do is take, let's see, I'll just copy this, and we're going to take the content of the page or of the state, and we're going to say .inner HTML, set that to a set of backticks, and then we'll go ahead and go to getbootstrap.com. Let's go to documentation, and let's go to components. And I want a Jumbotron component, which is right here. So I'm just going to grab this and copy it and then put it in here. Okay, and then we'll just tab this over, and that should be it for the home state. So basically we're just modifying the heading and the content. So now for the about state, let's go right underneath this. And let's say about state, and same thing, we're going to have a variable, we'll call it about state, and we'll set it to function, And we'll go ahead and pass in page. And inside here, we're going to say document dot query selector. We want to select the heading. And we're going to set the text content equal to about us, like that. All right, and then for the HTML, actually, I'll just copy this right here. So for the HTML, I'm going to get rid of all this markup, this template, and we're just going to put in here a paragraph. I can't use Emmet in here. And we'll just say this is the about page. All right, so that's our about state. Now we'll do the contact. So I'm actually going to copy this, paste it in. This will be the contact state. And let's set the heading to contact us. And then we're going to need a form. So I'm actually going to just paste this into the inner HTML right here. So it's just a very simple form. And that's it. That's our 3 states. Now what we need to do is go down here and we need to first of all instantiate the page state. So we'll say const, whoops, let's say instantiate, we'll say const page, and we'll set that equal to new page state. And then we want to initialize, we'll say init the first state. So we do that by calling page.init. And let's just save that and see what we get. And we get the initial state. All right, so if we were to change this in the init right here, if we were to change this to new about like that, then we're going to get the about, but we want the home state to be the initial state. Now what we want to do is make it so that when we click these links up here, we call event listeners that will change the state. So let's do that. So we'll say UI variables. So we'll say home equals document dot, we'll use get element by ID, home. Let's put a comma here, and then we'll do the about. I don't think did I put IDs? Let me just make sure I did that. Yeah, so each link here should have an ID, home, about, and contact. So that's about, and we'll put another comma, and we'll do contact, semicolon there, and contact. Okay, so now we have our UI variables. Now we want to add our event listeners. So let's do the one for home. So we'll say home.add event listener. We want to listen for a click. And then when we call that click, let's do a function. I'm actually going to use an arrow function, and that'll take in an event parameter. And let's say page.change. Okay, we're using our page function up here, and we're calling change, and that's going to take in a state. So the state that we want is going to be the about. So I'm sorry, the home. So we're going to say new home state, like that. And then we're just going to prevent the default behavior of the link, the click link. So we'll say prevent default. And then we're going to do the same for the other ones. So let's go ahead and copy that. So this will be about. So we'll say about, add event listener click, page change, and we're going to change it now to the about state. And then we have our contact. which will take our contact UI variable, call the event listener, and then we're going to say new contact state. And that's it. So let's save. Let's go back. So we have our initial home state. Let's click About. We get the About page or the About state, contact, and we get the contact. All right, and we didn't create any extra files. We don't have an about.html or contact.html. It's all strictly in our JavaScript. All right, so this is kind of a, not really a practical example because this isn't like a dynamic application. Usually you'd have like an edit state, stuff like that, list state, but I wanted to make this simple, so we're just using actual pages. All right, so that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.